Not that I like it, but because it hasn't been done in a long time, okay? I don't like doing natural edge because I don't like the sand. If you like to do natural edge, you know there's a lot of sanding involved because when you turn the piece, when you go from air to wood to air to wood, you're always going to get torn grain here, torn grain here. And sometimes it sands out real easy, sometimes it doesn't. Usually it doesn't occur on the back, but it always occurs on the front. And this is my first natural edge piece I ever did in 1995. And this is, I think, the second one. And this looks like 1998, and I haven't done one since. Okay.
Until
Yes, you
now.
have.
Until now. Oh, I did this piece for this meeting.
Wow.
This is mango from the tree in my front yard that we got branches off of. And unfortunately, they were all branches, so all the piths are off center. There's nothing centered, but I did my best to get it that way. And it's dried out so much now that the bark will not stay on it. So there's not going to be any bark on the piece that I do. I took all the bark off because it would end up flying and hitting somebody. Okay? There is a way to keep that from happening if you have a fresh piece of wood. You can get your rough shape, then you can glue it, and it will usually stay on. Not always, but it'll usually stay on. These were done not on those that wood off of that tree.
Sure.
Okay.
Just a point. After it all dries, if it cracks and pulls away, you can use CA glue, and
Right.
it'll stick. I
yeah.
returned.
Right. The problem I have with the real dry stuff, when you turn it, is it flies off and you're not going to find it. And I don't like building the bark up with coffee grinds or anything like that. I don't care for that. So what I did with this was I burned the edge of it with a little butane burner. And it still didn't look right, so I took my micromotor and I textured the edge of it and I burned it again. And then I used some India ink on it and then resanded the edges.
You use what on it?
Good.
Oh, Indian.
Yeah, anyway, these are branches. That's essentially what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to try to do something like this. Because this is traditional, this isn't. You know, I like these, but I'll do something to try to do it different. And you can't go big on this lathe anyway, so that's what I'm going to do.
Yay.
Okay. First thing is grain orientation. I assume everybody knows what that is, but just in case. Those pieces are all side grain. All of those, except that mango piece. No, that's side grain also. That's a crotch, so that's side grain. That's all side grain, which means the wood is mounted like this, right? Okay, and I had an end grain piece that I forgot to bring. And this is end grain, okay? Which means you turn it the way the tree grew, this direction, like this. And you get a much different effect out of side grain and end grain. Side grain is what most people do natural edge pieces out of because it's much easier to make a bowl out of a side grain piece than it is out of an end grain piece because you really have torn grain on the inside of an end grain piece. Anyway, and like I said, I removed all the bark from this. And I also put a flat on this side because that's wood that I don't have to cut off on the lathe. This is going to be the top, this is going to be the bottom. Okay, attaching the wood. Now, a lot of people, when you're making a bowl at Ron's shop or a big piece with a pretty uniform round piece, all right, it's safe to use a spade bit or a Forstner bit for your spur. All right, so this thing doesn't come off the lathe. But when you're doing end grain, when you're doing side grain, I use the spur and the tailstock, and I don't do that to either end with a spade or a Forstner because I want to see the orientation, what I'm going to get. All right, if I mark it in the center, and then I will put it on the lathe. If I can find the hole. And what I will do is, I'll turn it around and I'll put the tool rest up against it, and I'll gauge the distance between the tool rest and the wing, and I'll adjust it until I get exactly what I want, which is a straight line, so that the one wing isn't higher, one wing isn't lower. So that's why I don't use, that's why I do it this way. I don't drill them out. So I can move them around.
Can you explain that again? Can you explain that again? Explain that again.
Again?
Yes, please.
If you drill
and you're stuck in this particular spot. Right, if you drill, you're stuck in a particular spot, but
You're
you're
stuck
trying to.
right there. And even if you can move the base, sometimes you can't get the wings correctly at the right level, so that the wings of the piece, are equidistant.
I understand.
Right?
But that wouldn't happen if you just put it on center? Like if you measured across the piece and
Nope.
found your center?
No, because the piece itself can be irregular between here and here. It can be different. So I move the piece until I can get the wings the same distance from the tool rest as I turn it. So I'll know the wings will be even. You won't have one down and one up.
Interesting.
And you have to just eyeball this dimension here. As you can see, the wings are a tiny bit moved over to the right, because this, like I said, this was a branch that was bent. Okay, you can see it better with this. Let's look at that. And you can see the torn grain like I was talking about. Of course, I could have got it out, but, you know. Okay. Now, when I mount a piece, I always use my chuck. I don't put my spur into the Morse taper in my lathe, because I've had them jammed in there where I've had to beat the hell out of them to get them out of there. So what I do is I just, see, and this runs very true this way. It runs true. If you are careful with the way that you put it into the chuck, it will run true. Just as true as if you took this off and put it in the headstock. That's what I do. There's another way to mount an end grain piece. You could do it on a side grain piece, is with a worm screw. Put the worm screw in the chuck. You drill the prescribed hole in your piece, and you turn the lathe on slow, and what it'll do is it'll thread itself in. All right? But you always have to use a tailstock if you're going to do this, because that is really not enough to keep that thing from coming off the lathe. All right? But a lot of people do that. A lot of people use a worm screw. I don't think I've used it twice.
Jerry, if you use a worm screw, aren't you losing the whole alignment ability?
Huh?
If you're using a worm screw, you can't align the wings anymore,
Right.
because you gotta drill a hole.
Yeah,
Right.
you got it in a hole. The only way that you can, it's just like drilling it out with this.
Yeah. So
The only adjustment you have is over here, and
Exactly.
you're not going to always be able to get what you want.
Okay.
Isn't there a song like that? Can't always get what you want, then.
I'm glad I can't hear you.
Have to speak up.
Get what you need.
We got a group together.
All right.
Exactly.
This is a center spur for a big piece of side grain. The reason I say side grain is there's only two spurs on this, made to go in and split the grain as you go in. And a conventional one that has two different directions won't bite as deep as this will. All right? And if you're going to do a big side grain piece, whether it's a natural edge piece or not, these are much, much better than.
What is that called?
This is I don't know what the trade name is. I buy it from the wood turning shop
Wood
store.
tool store.
Wood turning store.
Which are tool store. shooting star, they're two different things.
Yeah,
It's called.
they
an
make
Elio
this, and it's
drive.
especially made for side grain turning.
What's it called?
Elio.
What's it called?
Elio Drive.
Yeah, right. Okay. Now, where's the wood?
Right here on the table.
Where's my wood?
Here,
Right here.
Here on the table.
Okay. All right. Something about safety. Always wear glasses or a shield. A shield is better than a dust mask. I'm not going to put a dust mask on because I have one, but I'm not going to sand. Although, you know, you're still going to get particles anyway, but I'm not going to put it on because I won't be able to talk. All right, so I've put a hole in here on either side with my awl. I don't take the spur out and hammer it in like a lot of people do. I just rely on the pressure of the tailstock.
So you figured out where you wanted it before you got here?
Yeah. No, actually, no.
Oh, you
No.
just did it?
No. I'll put it the other way. You can see it better. See it a lot better this way. No, I just measured, and I'll move it now if it's not right, that's all. I found the older I get, the more light I need.
Contrast,
Huh?
contrast.
Yeah, I know.
Me too.
Now, I put this over here, and I can tell them when I have to move it just by looking at it. All right, I've got about a ½ an inch here, and I've got nothing here. So. Too close.
Problem I always run into when I do that is I'll make a little hole and then I need to shift it, but it's only far enough away that it slides back into the hole that I already made.
Yeah. Yeah.
That much of an adjustment, then you do okay.
Doesn't have to be perfect, but it just makes a better piece if you get the wings as close as you can.
Yeah, you want to do it.
Yeah, symmetrical.
Guess I want to
Hmm.
I gotta finish sanding.
Which one of us is sitting in the wrong spot?
I think Bud. Bud's in the projectile
It's a
seat.
bigger target.
Always and always.
That's about it.
There you go.
There we go. That's close enough. Okay. Now, I always start down here because this is going to be the bottom of my piece. And what I do is I make a tenon as quick as I can. A lot of people, they just would leave it between centers until they could turn it around, but I don't trust that. always check, see this was loose, always check your tailstock and tighten it up and keep checking it as you turn. Turn the speed all the way down. Is that all the way down? That's all the way down. Okay, well,
Yeah.
It may be set on high speed,
I want to be in the business class.
the belts may be set on high speed.
that's all right, I'll deal with it. I usually start with a 1/2 inch gouge. And since I'm left-handed, you're gonna have to adjust your stand.
I moved.
I'm left-handed. We'll get it done. Come in from the bottom. A lot of people would say, why don't you just start here and cut these off? Because then you're getting it beaten on you. Just, you really, and you're cutting end grain and it's going to just be nothing but dust. And it's going to take you a long time to do it. Coming in from the side grain, you're not encountering any end grain at all. So this is actually faster this way.
Safer.
Makes sense.
Yeah. You know, when we were at the school, we had one of the big jets, if you remember, to demo on. Remember the big jets? It would be nice eventually if we could bring one over here. That might be possible, right? You think? once we decide what to do with the shop.
Some way to get it mobile, yes.
Well, it did have jacks on it. It had wheels on it. And what they were trailer
Yeah, I remember.
tongue wheels.
We used those at Western High School.
Huh?
We had that at Western High School.
Right.
I don't know where that went.
Yep, and it worked real well because we had to roll that out of the storeroom every
Yeah.
time. And I can't say this enough. It's important that every time you think about it, you tighten this down. Okay, because this thing came off the lathe, it could hurt somebody, right? So, anyhow, we're getting there. Now, as you're turning this, you want to go about 80% of the way up from the bottom. When you get up to about, I would say, a half an inch or so from the top of this, you want to come down from the top. Because if you continue to go up, you can splinter this and break part of this off, right? So you get close to the top, then you turn and you go down this way. And that'll save the edge for you.
Especially if there's bark on it.
Yeah, especially if there's bark on it.
Yeah.
Right. But what it'll do, even a piece of wood like this, it'll splinter it. I mean, you're liable to knock a big chunk right out of the edge. Take a look at it, see where we are.
Oh, yeah.
What's the 6 inch speed at the outside?
There's a calculation.
You know what it is? Isn't it simple?
No, it's not simple.
All right, I'm gonna turn it around, we're close enough here. Go in and feel it, and you touch it. move the wood down here so I could get my shape going, and I'll try to protect that up there. Save time. Tool down, tip up, tools up against my hip. Tool rest is too high. You could move the tool rest with the lathe on if you have a death wish. Or you want to cut one of your fingers off, that's up to you. I've done that already. I think I've made every mistake there is to make turning wood. You don't need a heavy cut, You realize this blade is so underpowered. Riding the bevel, shearing it off with the wing, not the tip.
Jerry?
see. Let's make it faster or slower?
Slow.
Slower?
Well, you're already at the bottom.
All right. Seems like a little bit better. A lot better. Better.
Mo better.
Lot better. Not used to these fancy things. We'll put a tenon on it. Use a little square edge scraper. Some people call it a badan, but it's Okay, this is a little gadget that Tommy James made for us, and you guys all know what this is. This is a go, no-go for and that's just about as small as I can go right there. You could either smallest and largest for this chuck. And for side grain you always want as big of a tenon as you can get, because the fibers all run this direction. So it's very easy to tear this off when you're turning. On end grain, you can go smaller because you're squeezing all the fibers. All right? This way, you can shear this off right here. It's almost impossible to knock a end grain, to break off an end grain tenon. It can be done though, believe me.
You try hard enough.
See, I would have been trying to make it smaller. I would have been trying to make it smaller so that the jaws came almost together.
I know. Well, you have to balance one thing against the other. You have to just go as big as you can, but like for instance, this is perfect for this chuck. But really it would have been better for the piece to have a bigger tenon. But you just got to be a little bit more careful, that's all.
Gotcha.
Sometimes I don't have a soft touch,
On this lathe you do.
Huh?
On this lathe you do.
It makes you.
You have to with this lathe. Like I said, it'd be nice to get one of the big ones over here. You could do something. Even though it's in the chuck, I always still bring the tailstock up until I get inside where I can't do it.
Keeps it balanced better for cutting, keeps it balanced better anyway for cutting the
Right,
other
right,
edges.
you're right, it does.
Less vibration.
We keep going with this till we get some kind of shape out of this. Good thing I sharpened the tools before. Gotta come up some. Well, we're getting there. Now, I guess at this point you could sand it if you wanted to. Be real careful. Sand it if you wanted to. I'm going to turn it around. No, I'm not going to turn it around. I've got to do the inside first. side.
Yeah, on the outside. That's okay.
I always adjust my tool rest. I have a radiator clamp on the stem of my tool rest at home, so I don't have to adjust it up and down. I always know right where it's going to be. I just stick it in there. I don't have to look to see where it is. I think it was touching. Yep, right there. Okay, start on the inside. Inside out. If you have a problem, a lot of people have a problem getting the center out of a bowl. What you can do is you can actually drill down to where you think you might want the bottom. Take the center out of it. Stick this in the tailstock, hold it with this. Works fine. All right, so just put it in there like that. And your tailstock, go down, put a piece of tape where you've measured it to, and that way you don't have to deal with the center of it. Raise it up just a little bit.
You can do that with a spindle. The good thing about a natural edge bowl is, as you're turning it, you can see how thick it is, because you can see the shadow, the ghost line, and you can see how thick your bowl is. You don't even need to measure it. You can see it, because you're getting air, you're getting wood, you're getting air, you're getting wood, so you can see the thickness. I know this is a 1/4 inch thick, and I can see it all the way down. So you don't have to grab a set of calipers and work. Now, one that's got more side to it, like that one over there, you might have to, like that big bowl over there, you might have to get a set of calipers. But something like this, that you can see down almost all the way, you don't need a set of calipers, you can see it, you know? Anyway. And now I can see it. I can see it's only 1/4 inch thick. I don't want it to go any, I don't want it to be any thinner. Now, when you get down here, if you're having trouble like I am right now, you grab a scraper. Sharpen it real well and be very delicate with it. Start it. At the center, you can start it almost horizontal. As you get out towards the edge, where it gets thinner, you want to tilt it down a little bit. That way it won't be so aggressive out there where it might break something off. And you can go right out and be very careful. A lot of people look down on people that use scrapers, but some of the best turners, Richard Raffin, that's all he uses. He uses gouges too, but mostly scrapers. A scraper is a good tool if you sharpen it really, really sharp and you leave the burr on it. Don't take the burr off of it like you would a gouge, because then it'll do what you want it to do. Now, as you can see, I have just about what I want. No sanding, of course, and it's pretty well balanced. Now we're going to do the underside of it. Jam chuck. It's not really a jam chuck, but it works the same way.
Close enough. Close enough.
Yeah. I hate this thing. That's there we go. Huh?
They didn't need to hear that.
on the tools, you're just old.
All right. Now, I would presume that you're going to finish this off better on the inside than I did, but, so if you did, use a piece of sandpaper or a piece of leather. I don't have much leather, but I got lots of sandpaper.
I use that rubber,
Huh?
the rubber.
Rubber, yeah. But use sandpaper works really good for it too, so.
I found the rubber.
Now, you still
sometimes
have your center point in there from when you turned it to begin with. That's another thing, always leave the center point in so you can center the bottom of it. anything you do, you leave that in.
That rubber stuff that rubber stuff, sometimes the wood will slip on it and it'll just melt the rubber.
Right. As you can see, this is pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. Said there was gonna-
I brought a parting tool with me, but I don't usually use a parting tool to do this kind of thing. A lot of people part it off and then they sand the bottom of it. I don't do that, so I wasn't taught that way. You can really tell by the way the lathe sounds whether there's something loose or not. I'll do this.
Sanding done at the same time.
Huh?
You get your sanding done at the same time.
Yeah. You can get your sanding done at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Well, the trick is for it not to move.
No fingers lost.
I was gonna say,
No fingers lost.
do as I say, not as I do.
No, and also, that reminds me, I did have notes, but I didn't bring them. For all of you that haven't experienced it, this is just like a knife. All right, and when it has bark on it, it's even sharper. Bark is much harder than the wood. If you get your fingers into that, you're gonna have a few stitches usually. All right? So always keep your fingers on this side of the tool rest. Unlike Mike Kellum, who's got some real pretty shortened fingers, these two in the middle are shorter.
Rookie mistake.
Like I said, this is very, very sharp. I didn't mention that to begin with. Thank you. Try the smaller one. I don't have a light touch, all right? Somebody once told me that you got to teach the lathe who's boss. So I really had to work at getting delicate touches so that I didn't ruin things, because I used to knock things off the lathe all the time. As you can see, I lean into things a lot, so. Make it a little concave on the bottom so that it sits right. Get a little round nose scraper, make the curve a little bit better. be real brave and take it down below 1/4 of an inch, but without it being on a chuck, it's a little dangerous, you know. So, by now you'd have the sanding done. The piece is finished now, so. All right. And just break that off. And that's a branch now, remember, that's a branch, so. And I might give you a tip, the inside of it could have been a little smoother. When you're doing natural edge bowls, unless you have unbelievable tool control, always do the inside satin or semi-gloss, because then nobody will see all your little mistakes. If you take a look at this bowl, I made it a little shiny, and you can see the divot in the middle of it.
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
Okay. Thank you, sir.